The war between the Arcturus Alliance and the Orion Confederation had gone on for more than 200 years. Both sides were tired. Both sides had lost millions of ships and billions of lives. Still, neither would give up or surrender. Admiral Krell looked out from the bridge of his flagship at the destroyed remains of what was once a beautiful planet. Now it was nothing but rocks and dust floating in space. He sighed deeply. He had been fighting this war for nearly 50 years, and he was starting to think it would never end. "Another world gone," said his second-in-command. "All for nothing." Krell nodded. "The Orions will pay for this. We will make them pay." But his words sounded hollow even to himself. The truth was that both sides had paid too much already. The war had spread across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Thousands of worlds had been destroyed or abandoned. Trillions of lives had been lost. And for what? A dispute over territory and resources that neither side now remembered clearly. Meanwhile, on the small blue planet called Earth, Samantha Wright sat at her desk at NASA's Deep Space Listening Station in New Mexico. She had been working the night shift for 3 weeks, and nothing interesting ever happened on the night shift. Her job was to monitor signals from the outer solar system and beyond. Most nights, she just heard the usual background noise of space. But tonight was different. Her computer screen showed something unusual, a pattern in the signals that didn't match any known natural phenomenon. "That's weird," she said to herself. She adjusted some settings and ran the signal through different filters. The pattern became clearer. It wasn't random. It had structure. It had meaning. Samantha picked up her phone and called her supervisor, even though it was 3 a.m. "Sir, I think you need to see this," she said when he answered. "I'm picking up what looks like artificial signals from the direction of Alpha Centauri." Across the world in a secret underground facility, John Martinez, director of the United Earth Defense Initiative, was already aware of the alien civilizations that existed beyond Earth's solar system. The UEDI had been monitoring them for years, but they had kept this information from the public. Earth was not ready to join the galactic community. Humans were still too divided among themselves. Martinez looked at the latest reports from their deep space probes. The war between the 2 major alien powers was getting closer to Earth's neighborhood. It was only a matter of time before one side or the other noticed the little blue planet with its primitive but emerging technology. "How long can we stay hidden?" he asked the room full of military and scientific advisors. "Not long," said Dr. Patel, the chief scientist. "Our radio signals have been leaking into space for over a century. Anyone looking in our direction with good enough equipment would know we're here. And our first interplanetary ships to Mars would be visible to any advanced civilization monitoring this system." Martinez nodded grimly. "Then we need to prepare. If this war comes to our doorstep, we need to be ready." In the vastness of space, neither the Arcturus Alliance nor the Orion Confederation paid much attention to the small solar system with its single inhabited planet. To them, Earth was a primitive world barely worth noticing. Humans had only recently discovered how to travel to their own moon and nearby planets. They had no faster-than-light technology. They were no threat and of no strategic value. How wrong they were. The humans had something neither alien civilization recognized or understood. A unique way of thinking, a creativity born from their short lives, and their need to adapt quickly to changing circumstances. While the alien civilizations had been locked in their centuries-long stalemate, following the same strategies and technologies with only minor improvements, humans had been evolving their thinking at a remarkable pace. And soon, very soon, this overlooked species would change the course of the galactic war in ways no one could have predicted. As Samantha Wright continued to study the strange signals, and John Martinez prepared his secret defenses, the first pieces were moving into place for humanity's unexpected entrance onto the galactic stage. The Martian sky was dusty red as usual that morning when Dr. Frank Miller began his routine checks at Research Station Alpha. The small human outpost had been on the red planet for just 5 years, with only 23 researchers living in the connected domes. Their job was to study Mars and prepare for future larger settlements. Frank looked up from his instruments when the alarm sounded. Something was entering the Martian atmosphere fast, too fast for a supply ship from Earth. He rushed to the observation window and saw a streak of fire cutting across the sky. Everyone to emergency stations, he called over the base intercom. Unknown object crash landing approximately 10 kilometers west. The object hit the surface with a flash visible, even from their distance. Dust and debris shot into the air. Frank organized a team of 4 to investigate in one of the rovers. "We should wait for instructions from Earth," said Natalie Adams, the safety officer. "That will take too long," Frank replied. "Whatever it is, it's not one of ours. We need to see it before the dust settles." The journey across the Martian landscape took 30 minutes. As they approached the crash site, they saw it wasn't a meteorite. The object was clearly artificial, a ship of some kind, but not human-made. Its design was sleek and unlike anything built on Earth. Part of it was buried in the red soil, but a large section remained intact. "My God," whispered Frank. "It's alien." The team approached carefully in their protective suits. The ship had a tear in its side. Through it, they could see movement. Something was alive inside. "We need to help," Frank said, his medical training taking over. Survivors could be hurt. Inside the ship, they found what they had both hoped for and feared: an alien being. It was humanoid but clearly not human. Its skin was pale blue, with ridges where a human would have eyebrows. It was injured, blue fluid leaking from a wound in its side. Frank, despite his shock, did what any doctor would do. He tried to help. The alien watched them with 3 large eyes, speaking words they couldn't understand. Back at the research station, they set up a quarantine area and brought the alien inside. Frank treated the wound as best he could, guessing at what might help based on the alien's reactions. The news was sent to Earth, causing worldwide shock and excitement. Within days, a special team arrived from Earth, including Olivia Grant, a specialist in language and communication. Olivia worked day and night with the alien, who they learned was called Lieutenant Commander Centauri of the Arcturus Alliance. Through a combination of pictures, gestures, and repetition, she began to understand fragments of the alien's language. War was one of the first words they understood. Danger. As communication improved, the humans learned the terrible truth. A massive war had been raging among the stars for centuries. Centauri's scout ship had been damaged in a battle near Mars and crashed while trying to escape. "Your world in danger," Centauri told them. "Orions come soon. They destroy or conquer." Eric Johnson, Secretary General of the United Nations, called an emergency meeting of world leaders. For the first time, humanity united in fear and determination. "We always wondered if we were alone in the universe," Johnson said in his address to the world. "Now we know we are not. But we also know that the universe is dangerous, more dangerous than we imagined." Centauri shared what knowledge he could about both sides of the conflict. The Arcturus Alliance claimed to fight for freedom against the Orion Confederation's expansion. The Orions claimed to fight against Arcturian aggression. Both had destroyed countless worlds in their war. As humans processed this information, their telescopes detected multiple large objects entering the solar system. The Orions had noticed the crashed Arcturian ship and were coming to investigate. Humanity had lived in peaceful ignorance of the Galactic War. Now that peace was over, Earth would have to choose: join one side, try to remain neutral, or find some other path no one had considered. Frank Miller looked at the alien he had saved and wondered if he had doomed Earth by his act of compassion. But as a doctor and a human, he knew he couldn't have done anything else. "What happens now?" he asked Centauri. The alien's 3 eyes blinked slowly. "Now your species must survive first contact." The Orion ships arrived with a display of power meant to impress and intimidate. 5 massive vessels took positions around Earth, each one larger than the biggest human aircraft carrier. Their hulls gleamed with a purple-black metal unknown to Earth science. In Geneva, the United Earth Council gathered in emergency session. Representatives from every nation sat in tense silence as the alien transmission was played on the main screen. "People of Earth," said a tall, elegant alien with silver skin and 4 arms. "I am Ambassador Nix Allah of the Orion Confederation. We come in peace and friendship. We offer protection from the dangerous Arcturus Alliance." The ambassador smiled, showing teeth that looked too sharp for comfort. "The Arcturian you rescued is a spy. His people are savage warriors who destroy worlds that refuse to join them. We have been fighting to protect freedom in this galaxy for centuries." Susan Parker, the representative from Canada, stood up after the message ended. "They say exactly what Lieutenant Commander Xeltor warned us they would say. Each side claims the other is the aggressor." William Garcia, the military advisor to the council, pounded his fist on the table. "We need to be practical. The Orions have 5 warships that could destroy our major cities in minutes. The Arcturians have 1 injured pilot. Which alliance seems more valuable to our survival?" The debate raged for hours. Some council members wanted to join the Orions immediately. Others argued for neutrality. A few suggested secretly helping the Arcturians while pretending to cooperate with the Orions. Meanwhile, in a secure facility in Colorado, Xeltor continued sharing information with Dr. Frank Miller and Olivia Grant. His injuries were healing, and his command of basic English improved daily. "Orions speak with sweet words," Xeltor explained. "Then they take control. First, they offer protection. Then they need resources for your protection. Then they need your people to work. Then they own your world." Frank frowned. "But your people are at war with them. Of course you would say that." Xeltor's 3 eyes blinked slowly. "Yes, but I speak truth. Ask them how many worlds they protect. Ask how many of those worlds still have their own governments." Back in Geneva, Ambassador Nix Allah met with a smaller committee of the council. The Orion offered impressive technology in exchange for an alliance. Medical advances, clean energy, faster travel. "All we ask is that you allow us to establish 3 small bases on your planet," the ambassador said. "For your protection, of course." Susan Parker noticed the ambassador never directly answered questions about other worlds under Orion protection. She requested a private meeting with the council president. "We need more time," she argued. "This decision will determine the future of our entire species. We can't rush it based on fear." The council president nodded slowly. "But we can't delay too long. The Orions are growing impatient, and we're detecting more ships entering our solar system, both Orion and Arcturian. Humanity found itself caught between 2 ancient powers, neither of which they could fully trust. The war that had raged across the stars for centuries had finally reached Earth, and humans were being forced to choose a side." In his cell-like room, Xeltor sensed the growing tension. He called for Frank Miller. "Your people must understand something important," the alien said urgently. "Neither Arcturus nor Orion thinks humans are worthy of respect. We see your technology as primitive, but there is something about humans neither side has considered." "What's that?" Frank asked. "You think differently. Your minds solve problems in ways we do not expect. This could be your greatest strength." As the United Earth Council continued its heated debates, a select group of scientists and military personnel began a secret project. They studied both the damaged Arcturian ship and the limited technical data the Orions had shared. Dr. Karen Baker, a physicist with a reputation for unorthodox theories, led the team. Within days, she made an unexpected discovery, one that would soon change everything. Deep below the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially did not exist, Dr. Karen Baker stared at her computer screen. The numbers made no sense, yet they were consistent. She had run the simulation 12 times with the same results. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself. For the past 3 weeks, her team had been studying the technology from Xeltor's crashed ship. They compared it with the limited information the Orions had shared. Both alien species used similar approaches to faster-than-light travel, weapons, and shields. But humans, it seemed, saw physics differently. Karen called over her assistant. "Look at this. When we apply our quantum field theories to their technology, we get something neither alien race has developed." Her assistant studied the screen. "Is that a phase shift? Into what dimension?" "Not exactly a different dimension. More like existing between moments of time. Their ships and weapons operate in normal space-time. But these calculations suggest we could create technology that briefly steps outside the normal flow of time." Word of Dr. Baker's discovery quickly reached General Alan Powell, head of Earth's Covert Military Response Program. He immediately ordered a prototype weapon based on her theories. Meanwhile, Captain Henry Daniels reported for his new assignment. As one of Earth's top fighter pilots, he had been selected to lead a special team. They would learn to fight against alien ships using simulation programs developed by Lisa Chen, a brilliant computer scientist who had analyzed the limited data on alien battle tactics. "The simulations don't look promising," Lisa told him on his first day. "Their ships are faster, better armed, and have shields we can't penetrate with current weapons." Henry smiled. "Current weapons, but not the ones Dr. Baker is developing, right?" Lisa's eyes widened. "You know about that. It's supposed to be top secret. Need-to-know basis, and I need to know if I'm going to train pilots to fight these aliens." The training facility was hidden in Antarctica, far from prying eyes. 20 pilots from different countries worked with Henry day and night. The simulator pods looked like normal fighter jets, but the combat scenarios they practiced were anything but normal. "Their tactics are predictable," Henry explained to his team. "Both Arcturians and Orions have been fighting the same way for centuries. They rely on overwhelming firepower and numerical advantage, not creativity or adaptation." One of the pilots raised her hand. "But we're still outgunned. How do we overcome that?" "Good question, Sandra. That's where Dr. Baker's technology comes in." He showed them videos of the prototype tests. A small drone equipped with the phase shift device easily avoided all tracking systems. It could appear, fire, and disappear before enemy defenses could lock on. "We call it ghost fighting," Henry said. "Hit and fade. Never stay in normal space-time long enough for them to target you." In Geneva, tensions increased. Ambassador Nix Allah demanded a decision from the United Earth Council. The Orions were losing patience. "We offer you protection and advancement," the ambassador said, "but we need your answer now. Other Arcturian ships approach. We must establish our defense bases immediately." Susan Parker still urged caution. Their demands keep growing. First it was 3 bases. Now they want 7, including one in the heart of New York City. William Garcia countered, "What choice do we have? The Arcturians have battleships on the edge of our solar system. We need the Orion's protection." The council remained deadlocked. Ambassador Nix Allah returned to his ship, visibly displeased. That night, Dr. Baker's team achieved their breakthrough. The phase shift prototype successfully affected a full-size test vehicle. For 3 seconds, the tank existed between moments of normal time. Invisible, untouchable, yet still able to affect the physical world. General Powell immediately called the council president. "We need 2 more weeks. Just 2 weeks, and we might have a way to defend ourselves without alien help." But time was running out. In orbit, the Orion ships began powering up their weapon systems. Their patience had reached its limit. And unknown to everyone except Centauri, who felt it through the Arcturian communication implant in his skull, a massive Arcturian battle fleet had just arrived at the edge of the solar system. Earth was about to be caught in the crossfire of a war that had raged for centuries. The attack came without warning. 5 Orion ships positioned above Earth's major cities fired energy beams at military bases and satellite control centers. The destruction was swift and devastating. Thousands died in the first minutes. Earth's most advanced fighter jets launched, but were easily destroyed before they could even get close to the alien vessels. From his command center deep underground, General Powell watched in horror as screens showed one red dot after another vanishing, each a lost plane, base, or satellite. "They're not even trying to talk anymore," he said grimly. "This isn't protection. It's conquest." Above New York City, Commander Ryan Peters watched from the International Space Station as an Orion beam cut through the atmosphere below. His home was down there. His family. He gripped the edge of the viewing window so hard his knuckles turned white. "We need to broadcast what's happening," he told his crew. "The whole world needs to see this betrayal." The space station's cameras captured the attack in detail. Despite Orion attempts to block communications, the images reached every corner of Earth. The effect was immediate and powerful. Nations that had argued for centuries united in hours. The United Earth Council voted unanimously to reject both alien powers. President Laura Wilson addressed the world from a bunker beneath Denver. Her face was calm but determined. Today, humanity faces its greatest challenge. The Orions came with promises of protection and friendship. Now they show their true intentions. She paused, her eyes hard. "We will not surrender. We will not be conquered. Today, Earth stands together as one people, one planet, against those who would enslave us." Ambassador Nix Allah appeared on screens worldwide moments after her speech. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm us," the Orion said. "Surrender now and accept our guidance, or face complete destruction. You have 6 hours to decide." In her hidden laboratory, Dr. Karen Baker worked frantically. The attack had destroyed several research facilities, but her main team remained safe underground. The phase shift technology was ready for weapons, but they needed more time to install it on ships. "We need at least 4 days," she told General Powell. "The prototypes work, but scaling up to equip the fleet." "We don't have 4 days," Powell interrupted. "We barely have 6 hours before the Orions attack again." Dr. Baker rubbed her tired eyes. "Then we need to try something desperate. The Arcturus battle fleet at the edge of the system. We need to contact them." The general stared at her. "You want us to ask one alien enemy for help against another?" "Not exactly," she said. "I want them to keep the Orions busy while we finish our preparations." Through Zeltor's communication implant, they sent a message to the Arcturian fleet. They didn't offer alliance, only information. The Orions had attacked Earth without provocation. The response came quickly. Admiral Krell would engage the Orion ships to protect the developing species from Orion aggression. Within hours, space around Earth became a battlefield. Arcturian and Orion ships fired at each other with weapons humans could barely comprehend. The night sky lit up with explosions that looked like new stars being born and dying. The distraction worked. While the aliens fought, humans prepared. In Antarctica, Captain Henry Daniels briefed his pilots one final time. "Today we fight not just for our country, but for our species. The phase shift technology gives us one advantage: surprise. They won't expect us. They won't understand what's happening until it's too late." His 20 pilots nodded grimly. Each would fly a small one-person craft equipped with Dr. Baker's technology. They called the ships ghosts, fitting for vessels that could slit between moments of time. In her lab, Dr. Baker watched the final preparations. "It's not perfect," she told her team. "The phase shift only lasts 30 seconds before needing to recharge, but it's enough to fire weapons and disappear before they can target you." President Wilson called an emergency meeting with all military leaders. "How soon can we deploy?" General Powell checked the latest reports. 12 hours, Madam President. "The Orions and Arcturians are destroying each other above our heads," she said. "Once one side wins, they'll turn their attention back to us. We need to be ready." Little did any of them know that in just 15 hours, humanity would enter the war, and 3 hours after that, the war that had raged for centuries would be over. Captain Henry Daniels climbed into his ghost ship. The craft was small, just big enough for one pilot. It looked simple from the outside, but inside it contained humanity's most advanced technology. The heart of the ship was Dr. Baker's phase shift device, a small silver box with blue lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. "All systems check," Henry said into his helmet microphone. "Ghost Leader ready for launch." Around him, 19 other pilots prepared their ships. They were hidden in a mountain base, safe from the Orion attacks that had devastated Earth's surface military installations. "Remember your training," Henry told his team. 30 seconds in phase, 90 seconds to recharge. Count every second. Stay in phase too long, and you might not come back. Lieutenant Megan Foster's voice came through his headset. "Sir, what if the phase shift fails while we're in battle?" "Then we fight like humans always have, with courage and creativity," Henry replied. "But the technology will work. Dr. Baker hasn't let us down yet." Above Earth, the battle between the Arcturians and Orions had reached a stalemate. 3 Orion ships were damaged but still fighting. The Arcturian fleet had lost several smaller vessels. Admiral Krell's flagship hung in orbit, exchanging fire with the Orion command ship. In the underground command center, President Wilson and General Powell watched the alien battle through satellite feeds. Dr. Baker stood beside them, her face tense. "The Orions are targeting civilian areas between military strikes," General Powell said grimly. "They want to break our will to resist." The president's eyes hardened. "They don't understand humans very well, do they? Deploy the Ghost Fleet." The order went out. 20 ghost ships launched from hidden bases around the world. They rose through the atmosphere, small enough to avoid detection among the debris of the alien battle. Captain Daniels led his squadron toward an Orion supply ship at the edge of the main battle. "First target confirmed. Everyone ready. On my mark. Phase shift. Now." 20 human pilots pressed the activation controls on their ships. The world around them seemed to blur. Colors shifted to blue-gray. Sound became distant, like being underwater. They were between moments of normal time, visible to each other but invisible to the aliens. Weapons lock. Fire. 20 missiles launched. Then the ghost ships shifted back to normal time but in different positions. The missiles, still partially phase-shifted, passed through the Orion ship's shields as if they weren't there. They detonated inside the vessel. The Orion supply ship exploded in a ball of blue flame. On the Arcturian flagship, Admiral Krell stared at his tactical display in confusion. What happened? How did that ship just explode? There was no weapons fire. His second-in-command checked the sensors. Unknown. Admiral. One moment it was there. The next. The Admiral's confusion turned to shock as another Orion ship suddenly erupted in flames. Something is happening. Something new. The Ghost Fleet continued their attack pattern. Phase in, fire, phase out, move to new position, repeat. The human pilots worked with perfect coordination, their years of training now paying off. High Commander Ziv Tox of the Orion forces watched in growing horror as ship after ship in his fleet was destroyed by an enemy he couldn't see or fight. "Where are they?" he screamed at his tactical officer. "Find them." "We can't, High Commander," the officer replied, fear in his voice. "They appear for only seconds, then vanish. Our sensors can't lock on fast enough." Within 18 minutes, the Orion supply depot at the edge of the solar system was completely destroyed. Not a single human ship was lost. Captain Daniels gathered his fleet. "Good work, everyone. Return to base for recharge and prepare for the next target." News of the victory spread across Earth. People who had hidden in fear now looked up with hope. Videos from space showed Orion ships exploding without apparent cause, while Earth's tiny ghost ships appeared and disappeared like, well, ghosts. Dr. Baker watched the battle data with growing excitement. "It's working even better than our simulations predicted. The aliens don't understand what's happening because their science never explored phase shifting. They'd been stuck in the same technological approach for centuries." General Powell nodded. "How soon until the rest of the fleet is ready?" "The first 100 ships will be operational in 12 hours," Dr. Baker replied. We've simplified the production process. The phase shift devices are being installed as fast as we can build them. For the first time in the Long War, both alien civilizations took notice of the humans. What they had dismissed as a primitive species had just changed the nature of space combat in a single battle. Admiral Krell of the Arcturus Alliance sent an urgent message to Earth. He requested a meeting with human leaders. He used a word the Arcturians rarely spoke to any other species: allies. Admiral Krell stood before the United Earth Council. His blue skin seemed to glow under the lights of the underground chamber. Behind him were two Arcturian officers, their three eyes constantly scanning the room. Humans, the Admiral began. We have fought the Orions for more than 200 years. Neither side could gain a final victory, but your phase shift technology changes everything. President Laura Wilson leaned forward. Why should we help you? Both your people and the Orions came to our world and brought your war with you. The Admiral nodded slowly. A fair question. We offered genuine alliance, not the false protection of the Orions. We do not seek to control your world. We seek to end this war, finally. In a corner of the room, Seltor, now recovered from his injuries, translated the subtle meanings behind the Admiral's formal speech for Dr. Frank Miller. He is speaking truth. He is impressed by humans. This does not happen often. The council debated the offer for hours. In the end, they reached a decision. Earth would join the fight against the Orions, but on its own terms. Humans would not be under Arcturian command. They would fight as equal partners. Admiral Krell accepted their terms. He explained that a massive battle was planned at Proxima Centauri, the star system nearest to Earth. The main Orion armada was gathering there. If they could be defeated, the war might finally end. Their fleet has more than 3,000 warships, Admiral Krell said. We can gather perhaps 800. The odds are not favorable. President Wilson smiled for the first time in days. Admiral, humanity has always faced unfavorable odds. It's when we do our best work. Captain Henry Daniels was called to the new Joint Command Center. There he met Admiral Krell and received his mission. He would lead not just 20 ghost ships now, but 200, the entire first wave of Earth's new fleet. Your phase shift technology gives us an advantage, the Admiral told him. But we need more than technology. We need strategy. Henry studied the battle plans the Arcturians had prepared. They were solid, based on centuries of experience, but they lacked creativity, flexibility. With respect, Admiral, I see a better approach, Henry said. He outlined a new battle plan, one that used the ghost ships in ways the aliens hadn't considered. The Admiral's three eyes blinked in surprise. Interesting. Very human. Yes, this could work. Over the next 2 days, Earth prepared for war. More ghost ships were built. Pilots trained constantly. The Arcturian fleet made repairs and adjusted their tactics to work with the human approach. Dr. Karen Baker made one final improvement to the phase shift devices. I've extended the phase time to 45 seconds and reduced the recharge time to 60 seconds, she told the pilots. Use it wisely. On April 7, 2157, the combined human and Arcturian fleet departed for Proxima Centauri. 500 human ghost ships joined 700 Arcturian vessels. They traveled through what the aliens called fold space, their version of faster-than-light travel. When they arrived, the Orion armada waited for them. Over 3,000 warships in perfect formation. High Commander Ziv Tox's voice came through on all communication channels. Arcturians, we have fought for centuries. Today it ends. And humans, you have chosen the losing side. Your world will be the first we claim after this victory. The battle began with a massive Orion attack. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes filled space. The Arcturian ships formed a defensive line, their shields glowing as they absorbed the assault. Captain Henry Daniels gave the order. Ghost Fleet, execute Plan Thunderbolt. Phase shift now. All 500 human ships disappeared from normal spacetime. They reappeared behind and inside the Orion formation. The aliens had no defense against an enemy that could pass through their shields as if they weren't there. Lieutenant Commander Jason Stewart led the flanking action that broke through the Orion Center. His squad of 50 ghost ships targeted the command vessels, appearing just long enough to fire their weapons before shifting away again. "They can't track us," Jason reported. "Their targeting systems need at least 3 seconds to lock on. We're never in place that long." The battle that both alien races expected to last for days was changing by the minute. The Orions had numbers, but their tactics were useless against an enemy they couldn't hit. The humans, with their phase shift advantage and creative battle plans, were devastating the once mighty armada. High Commander Ziv Tox watched in growing horror as his ships exploded one after another. "This cannot be happening," he whispered. "Not because of humans. Not like this." The battle for Proxima Centauri had begun, and in just 3 hours, it would make history. 2 hours and 45 minutes into the battle at Proxima Centauri, more than half of the Orion fleet was destroyed or disabled. The remaining ships tried to retreat, but they found themselves surrounded. The human ghost ships appeared and disappeared throughout the battlefield, striking with perfect coordination. On the bridge of his flagship, High Commander Ziv Tox knew the war was lost. His ship shuddered as another volley of weapons fire struck its weakening shields. "Send the signal," he ordered, his voice hollow. "We surrender." The message spread across the battlefield. After centuries of war, after billions of lives lost, after thousands of worlds destroyed, the Orion Confederation surrendered. And they surrendered not to their ancient enemies, the Arcturians, but to humans, a species they had considered primitive just days before. Captain Henry Daniels received the surrender message on his ghost ship. For a moment, he couldn't believe it. "Confirm that transmission," he ordered. "Confirmed, Captain." Lieutenant Megan Foster replied. "All Orion ships have ceased fire. They're powering down weapons." Henry opened a channel to Admiral Krell's flagship. "Admiral, do you accept their surrender?" The Arcturian admiral's voice was filled with wonder. "After 200 years, yes, Captain Daniels, we accept their surrender." The 3-hour war was over. Humanity had entered the conflict and changed everything. Their different way of thinking, their creativity, their unique approach to physics had broken a stalemate that had lasted for centuries. 6 weeks later, representatives from Earth, the Arcturus Alliance, and the Orion Confederation met on a neutral space station. President Laura Wilson led the human delegation. It was time to build peace. "We did not ask to be part of your war," she told the gathered aliens. "But now that we are part of this galactic community, we will help build something better than endless conflict." The peace treaty established the Galactic Concord, a new governing body with representatives from all species. Earth, despite being new to interstellar politics, was given a central role as mediator between the former enemies. Ambassador Patricia Rivera became the first human representative to the Galactic Concord. She worked closely with Admiral Krell and other alien leaders to establish new rules for cooperation, not competition. Dr. Karen Baker received the first Galactic Peace Prize for her phase shift technology. But instead of using it only for weapons, she worked with scientists from both former enemy civilizations to adapt it for peaceful purposes. Medical scans that could see between cells, transportation systems that could move goods instantly, and communication devices that worked faster than light. The same technology that won the war can build a better peace, she told her mixed team of human and alien scientists. On Earth, Captain Henry Daniels, now promoted to Admiral, stood in Geneva at the unveiling of a memorial. The simple stone monument honored those who had died in the brief but pivotal human involvement in the war. But it also celebrated what had been achieved, an end to centuries of destruction. Admiral Daniels ran his fingers over the inscription on the memorial. "We came not to conquer the stars, but to ensure peace among them." Beside him stood Excel Tor, the Arcturian whose crashed ship had first brought the war to Earth. "Your species surprised us all," Xeltor said. "Both Arcturians and Orions thought we knew everything about the universe. We had fought so long we forgot how to think differently." "That's the thing about humans," Henry replied. "We're always looking for new ways to solve old problems." In the years that followed, humanity's influence spread throughout the galaxy. Human ships, still using improved versions of the phase shift technology, explored regions no other species had reached. Human diplomats helped resolve conflicts between other alien races using the lessons learned from the Great War. Historian Kelly Newman, writing 50 years after the 3-Hour War, summed it up best. "When humanity finally entered the galactic stage, we did not come as conquerors or victims. We came as problem solvers, bringing fresh eyes to ancient challenges." The war that ended in 3 hours opened the door to centuries of peace. And across the stars, the story was told of how a species from a small blue planet, once considered too primitive to notice, had changed the course of galactic history not through superior numbers or strength, but through a different way of thinking. The lesson was not lost on the older civilizations of the galaxy. Never underestimate the power of a new perspective.